Hi guys, here we are, Antony, Natural Life, Around the Hive with two great people, beekeepers up in the Tweed Valley. We've got Aidan and Mishy, husband and wife, beekeepers for the past 15 years. We're here to hear their story. So, Mishy.
Hi, yes, we are the founders of Sunny Times Honey. We're bee-led apiary up here in northern New South Wales, this beautiful spot, the Tweed Valley, and we make a honey that is really like stored sunshine. Each jar is almost like a snapshot of the landscape and the season, and it can never be repeated. So it's really that's what real honey is.
Right, so just winding back a little bit, your backstory. You've been here for 15 years, you moved up from Melbourne, you settled here, found a bush block. Why did you come up here?
Yeah, it was a bit of a wild spot, kind of untamed, and we found it just by chance. So we decided to move to an area that was just greener. We were looking for more space and probably a quieter life. And we started doing regenerative agriculture and then almost ran out of space in our little pocket of forest. And then came the bees.
So, Aidan, why regenerative farming and then why bees 15 years later?
Well, we stumbled into beekeeping by accident. It was a buddy of ours that had bees. He wanted to bring them out. He had some queens he wanted to mate on our property with the local sort of feral bees. His circumstances changed, so he asked us, "Do we want the bees?" We popped. I had no idea what we were doing. Opened them up, and I was just hooked, just instantly hooked. There was just something about them that was just fascinating, and I just needed to know more. So, 5 hives turned to 20, turned to 50, 100, 250.
Wow, so now it's mainly honey as opposed to regenerative farming? Or are you still doing both?
Yeah, no, we backed off on, it just was way more interesting. The bees were way more interesting than growing ginger and turmeric and things like that in between the cover crops. It just turned out to be the best use of that land as far as agriculture. We could do that. It used to be an old banana block years ago that was left, and we just thought, surrounded by forests, bordering on 2 national parks, bees were just the perfect mix as far as land use, and we just went from there.
Yeah. So did you have an understanding of bees and farming at the time?
Farming,
pollination
yes.
and the
farming,
importance
yes.
of bees?
We'd worked on a few farms in the valley before, but bees, no idea. No, it was a very steep learning curve.
Yeah, right.
Which I think is part of the challenge, Quite quickly you realize you're not in control and you are dealing with systems that are much, much larger than you. I think that's part of the fun. Yeah.
So you've got, we're in one lot here, so you've got 4 different areas in the Tweed Valley that you have your hives?
We stay specifically within the Tweed Valley here. It's an old volcanic crater, caldera, and the walls go up about 1 kilometer around each side. You can see over there.
Oh, it's absolutely beautiful.
So we tend not to leave the valley as far as the bees go. About 4 to 5 yards dotted around the valley. 1 over here, 1 back there, 2 over that way, this one, and 1 over there.
So, Aidan, you're talking about lots of beekeepers move the hives around following the pollination, but you don't do that. Your hives are stationary hives. So you have 4 lots with 100 different hives on each, 100 hives on each.
Yeah, we've got about 30 to 40 hives per yard and about 5 to 6 yards dotted around the valley, specifically staying in the valley. We don't want to move our hives. There's a lot, I get that guys need to chase production, continuous flow, pollination contracts. Those guys are doing a great job out there. It takes a lot of skill and knowledge to keep your bees on flow and know when to move them and work with landholders and growers. Those guys are doing the work out there. But for us, it's more about local genetics. It's more about keeping our bees here. It's more about sort of plugging in and keeping them in rhythm with this local ecology, this landscape.
Right. Yeah.
Tasting what this area tastes like as far as how the bees work it. It's just much more important to do that for us. And I think that answers it.
Yeah, we like to keep them close to home. So all of our yards are on friends' properties or neighbours' properties. They all back onto national parks, and they're all within 10 minutes of our house. So Perfect. It just makes a really nice, movable, easier kind of workflow.
Yeah, wonderful. And does that help with because I understand you've got organic certification, which you don't promote and we'll get into that. But does that help? Sort of, because I understand bees fly 7-kilometre diameter, so there could be farmers all around the area using pesticides. So it's really difficult to get organic certification. But because we're so remote here, I guess that's why you're able to get organic certification.
Do you want to answer that one?
There you go, and then I'll answer. Yeah.
Yeah, we have 2 of our yards that are certified organic, and it was really important to us because it gives customers that reassurance that yes, we're doing all of the right things. We're doing the right things by the ecology, by the soil and the land, and definitely by the bees and the bees' health. And therefore, whatever you eat, you know that nothing chemical or nasty has gone into it. We are definitely remote, so the 2 spots that we have certified, the bees travel up to 7 kilometres from that spot, but there's no kind of industrial, really big agriculture nearby. So they really have this amazing kind of access to
Freedom
native
and
forests.
purity.
Yeah. We don't promote it as such, but it does give people that reassurance.
Yeah, wonderful, because there's not many people, because of the nature of honey and the way bees flies, there's not many honeys out there that are organic or certified
yeah,
organic.
it's really hard. We're only one of a couple in Australia.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, great. We're obviously in a pretty volatile ecosystem up here. How does the weather play into beekeeping?
Well, weather's always a factor. You're always working with it, fighting it, trying to predict it, managing around it. The last 2 weeks were just nothing but rain, and I was waiting on queens to be mated. It was just somewhat of a disaster. It was a depressing week, but that's part of the game. Is that challenge. The good thing is that just not moving, keeping our hive stationary, you become attuned to it. You know when you can do things and what to expect. Seasonal indicators that you can constantly, as you drive between yards, you can pick up and you go, this is what's happening, so that means this comes next. Having said that, there's trees behind me that are flowering that didn't do that last year, so you're always on the fly trying to figure out and decipher what is happening. As the season changes, you can see it rolling from the north, coming down the south from the coast, and you know what's coming next as it washes inland. And same with the elevation. Again, these ranges go up 1 kilometer, and you can see it change, as you go up. And it's perfect for the bees too. It's almost the perfect spot because you've got yards down at the bottom. They fly out in the morning light, and they just load up, and you can see them in the afternoon just dropping down heavy, full of nectar, full of pollen.
Yeah.
They almost prefer to go up versus going down. Yeah.
So it's kind of subtropical up here, isn't it? So you get lots of rain.
Yeah, we get a lot of rain, and we get lots of beautiful sun in between. And those kind of changes in the season are represented in each jar, so that seasonal change is reflected. So sometimes when it's really hot and you get a really good flush of ironbark, the bee's recipe of honey might be really strong in ironbark, but just with a little touch of bloodwood. And then the next season it could be completely different. So yeah, it's a real kind of snapshot of each season and as it changes through the year.
Yeah, wow. So you've become the real connoisseurs of honey.
Yeah, it's like kind of like a wine vintage. Each seasonal release is different.
So can you smell it as opposed to tasting it too? Can you smell it a bit of?
Oh yes, yeah. And you can see it too. We try not to do single origin or single. It's a real. I don't want to say blend, but we take it off as they put it on. So we have such a short window to sort of catch the flow, for the bees. So, and the biodiversity is just through the roof. So you have just multiple species all flowering at once, and you can see it on the frames as they bring it in.
Yeah,
and
right.
Each year that changes, like Mish said, it might be 70% this, 30% of that. And each year, each tree changes how heavy they flower, or if they back off. Some years they're all on, some years some don't do it. I mean, it's incredible.
So can you actually see when you pull the frame out and you look at the pollen deposits, can you actually see that there's different
nectar.
Or the nectar? Can you see the different shades? So
Absolutely, You can taste one and taste another as they've switched, as they've changed trees.
Wow, so you can actually blend it knowing exactly what's going into the jar.
Yeah.
Oh,
well, it's rather than a blend, it's like this perfect recipe that they've made. And who are we to mess with that?
Yeah,
it's a
fantastic.
direct reflection of this entire landscape. Yeah.
So when you label Sunny Times labels, you label it different flavours or?
No, we just label it as raw honey.
Yep.
And it just naturally changes each seasonal release. is different, and it's never to be repeated.
Wow, that's awesome.
It is. It's just an incredible, when you really think about what they do, it's just an incredible moment in time captured, this snapshot of what was happening based on, weather patterns, previous rainfall, drought, the topography here is insane, the gullies, the ridges. Yeah, so that gets reflected in the honey. And it never ceases, every time, it never ceases to amaze me. It always changes, and it's always so good. Yeah.
Yeah, to work in somewhere like when you're extracting and the smell of the honey, it's just like,
It's intoxicating.
it's so fun and it's so moreish.
And you've got a couple of kids. Do they get involved?
They do by persuasion,
Yeah.
but they love honey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How can you
Yeah.
not? I think everyone loves
There's
honey.
jars everywhere.
So, Mishy, Sunny Times label. I love it. It's really simple. So what inspired that? It's kind of got this feel of nostalgia and warmth and simplicity. What inspired that?
Yeah, we wanted to really like reimagine honey as a brand and do something really quite different. I feel like at the moment life seems so busy and so much information thrown at you and so many messaging. I just wanted to do everything quite pared back, really simple and quiet and kind of warm.
Yeah.
So the jar, we really wanted the honey to be the big star. So the labels are smaller, it's really quiet. The honey, is very visible and you can see it changing through the seasons. And I think that kind of simplicity, lack of kind of flashy wording and rich colours, it really signals what's inside the jar.
Yeah, and we saw it in a shop just down the road, and it beautiful little display, and it just really popped. From everything else, as you said, there's clutter in a shop, and Sunny Times honey just sort of popped because of the simplicity. Yeah, it's really nice. So I've got the creamed honey here, which is one of my personal favourites. I'm going to steal this one after. How do you actually make creamed honey?
You want to talk about the process?
Sure. So what we do is raw honey, and creamed honey is sort of an extension of that. All raw honey will crystallize naturally. That's how you know it's raw. So we steer or guide that process by cooling it. We never heat our honey on the other side. We cool it to basically start that process, and we constantly move or spin the raw honey, and as it cools, it starts to form crystals, and eventually, if you've got a good seed stock, it starts to crystallize and form this nice, silky, creamy, velvety,
beautiful, delicious honey.
I remember when I was a kid, creamed honey, and so many people go, I remember this, and it's nice to bring it back and sort of share that experience, with our kids and everybody else's kids.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, to that point, I remember, people say, when I talk about creamed honey, whenever I buy it or bring it home, the kids talk about that old honey.
Yeah.
Oh,
the old honey.
Yeah,
the old people's honey.
Yeah.
So just on the starter, it's a bit like a yeast in bread. What is the starter, and how do you
it is starting with a honey that will crystallize easily, but also has sort of very fine grain crystals, small crystals. I guess like a snowflake, it repeats. Once you add more honey, it keeps growing. So
it's like an activator.
Yes, yeah. So we specifically put a couple hives down on clover and took the honey from that, started the seed. Clover honey crystallizes quite quickly, or quite fine, and started the seed with that. And it's been, I don't know how many batches we've done, but from that original starter, we just sort of top it up and go again.
You just roll it each season.
Yeah. We've managed to. I love when it looks really, really white. It just looks really clean and pure.
Oh, it's just unreal.
It's so silky. It's a completely different experience than runny honey. Sort of twisting of the knife or anything. It's just a clean spread. Yeah.
So besides the creamed honey, what other honeys do you have in your range?
So we do raw honey, we do our creamed honey and honeycomb, which is pure honeycomb cut straight out of the hive, like just as it is. And so we don't add anything to any of our honeys. We don't take anything away. We just want to really showcase like the beauty of honey as it used to be.
Honey to plate.
Yeah, just something really simple. Yeah.
Kind of honoring how honey used to be. So it's a little bit different nowadays.
Yeah.
Don't want to go into imported honey, but there's a huge market out there, and it's just nice to kind of keep it simple and just kind of guarantee, or at least let people know, or let them sort of rest assured you know, it's the real deal.
Yeah.
You know?
Can you say it's traceable? Can they go on your website and say,
Yeah,
right here?
right there.
Yeah, right here.
Yeah,
So
or over
spot.
there, or
okay,
over
it's 100%
there. Yeah.
traceable.
Come on out, I'll show you. Yeah, you know, that sort of thing. Yeah.
Oh, mate, it's just absolutely beautiful. So Sunny Times Honey, how'd you come up with that name?
Oh, it was actually Aidan's dad. Aidan and his dad were working the hives one day and they came back and he said, oh, these are the best days. You know, sunny times, the bees are happy. Yeah, this is the best kind of days. And it's true. And I was like, that's it.
Bingo.
Because it is. They're the types of days that you can go out and work the bees and they're not all spicy. They're the days that we always look forward to. And you can't really say sunny times without smiling.
Yeah.
Like it just, it's a feel-good phrase.
And so is honey, so it complements the honey itself.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's a great name. So the nasties, the varroa mite. So for people that don't know about the varroa mite, why is it such a big deal in the industry?
Well, I mean, varroa mite is the biggest threat to beekeeping globally, and it's Australia's turn now. We're sort of the last place that that has it, didn't have it, that has it now. Actually, a year ago today, we found it in our hives, and it's changed everything. The game is the same, but the rules have changed. It can just take down colonies if you're not actively in there. In the end, it's going to cause us all to be better beekeepers because we're in our hives more often, paying attention. It's been a challenge. You know, we made a decision early on when it arrived in the country to not use the synthetic miticides, and knowing that we'd made that decision that we would lose colonies, we just looked overseas knowing that there was a lot of information over there that the tip of the spear is all in genetics. You know, we had about 250 colonies going into this. We've probably lost over a third of our colonies to varroa and hive beetle. It's been a really, really hard year, and we could drop the chemicals and just keep rolling, and I get that people are doing that, but in a weird way, this has become more interesting now. And you know, if anybody knows anything about the genetics of bees, I mean, it's just fascinating. So now's our chance to really dig in. I think every beekeeper has a role to play now in selecting bees that are actually actively pushing back against it. Yeah.
So tell me, I've been beekeeping myself, but I've watched them sort of travel, migrate from Queensland down to New South Wales. They've affected my hives, and now I understand that they're touching on Victoria and moving over into South Australia as well. But what actually is the varroa mite? Just explain what varroa mite is and what it does to the colony.
So it's a parasitic mite, like a tick, that feeds on the bees inside at the pupal stage, and also on the adult bee outside. And it weakens the bees. It feeds on their fat bodies. It weakens the bees. Long term, it's the viral load, even though in Australia we're told that we don't have the viruses yet. Once we do, then we will really start to see some colony losses. It's the viral load that eventually brings colonies down quite quickly. So there is no real cure. Once you have them, you have them. You can never really get rid of them. But for us, it's not really about having zero mites. It's about a balance, you know, throughout the population, finding bees that will deal with it.
So there you talk about genetics. How does genetics play into it? How can you actually breed in or breed out the genetics?
Well, you know, I mean, I have to be honest. It's a process. There's no super bee. People smarter than I have been working on this for longer than any of us in this country. You know, we have a simple approach. We just wash or do an alcohol wash or a soapy water wash every month, every hive every month. And we watch the trends, and there are, even within our population, there are bees that are keeping it down. We still treat with the organic acids, oxalic acid, and then it's just all mechanical brood breaks, knowing when to interrupt, removing queens, requeening, splits. Even then we lost a third or so of our operation. You know, sitting here today, you know, we're back as far as what we lost. We've made it back, and those queens are from ones that we've selected based on the washes that we've had. So about 12 months worth of washes, and you can see ones that are actively keeping it down, and we just start that process, start picking the winners. Yeah, and so, they're out there.
So she becomes a stronger bee, laying stronger eggs, better genetics. So you've got better genetics in the hive to actually fight or repel the
Exactly.
the
Yeah.
virus.
Yeah. It's early days. It's really early days. We may as well start that process. Yeah.
And how long's it been in America for?
Oh, if anything, it seems to have gotten worse, mainly because the 2 or 3 main synthetic chemicals that they're using, varroa mite seems to now have resistance against those chemicals. We just recently found out in Australia there's been a second incursion of varroa mite, meaning it's come into the country twice. Mites that have come in have resistance to the main chemicals that some beekeepers are relying on. So it's even more reason just to, you can hop on the treadmill, or you can just, hop straight to genetics, and that is the future, really.
So this has affected you guys personally. It's affected beekeepers all throughout Queensland, New South Wales, and now Victoria. How does that affect the person on the street? Why are bees so important to us? And how is this so devastating to the industry?
Well, it's devastating to us. Day to day, you come back and you've lost all of these hives, and it's not even like it's the loss of the bees, but it's also the loss of that potential and the loss of all the work that you'd done, like setting them up to a certain stage. So it's a pretty hard time for beekeepers at the moment, but we are really committed to not using synthetic chemicals and taking that kind of longer approach. There's less yield, but it's like a longer term game.
So it's harder, more expensive, but don't they say the bees pollinate 65% of the crops around Australia, so without the bees we don't have food, and so on and so forth.
Absolutely.
Einstein said 3 years later we're all starving, so this could be a really serious thing for the industry in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think instantly it'll show up in food prices and things like that rely on pollination. And locally, you can hear people even in the town here say they haven't seen a bee, for a while. They're around. The feral or wild or free living populations have pretty much crashed. So it's going to take a few years for that to rebound. And yeah, it's absolutely devastating. It's absolutely devastating. We're new into beekeeping. This is what are we calling this? And we've sort of been tinkering for a while. This is probably about year 7, but really, we're in it, and then this shows up. So,
and I think that kind of is a benefit in one way because we're not following tradition from past generations that we've had. We're new to it. We're learning everything that we can from the people that have been doing it for a long time. So really, the kind of the tip of the edge in America, what's working and what's not, and we're laying that on this kind of climate and trying our best to just really stay the course and protect what we've got, but also doing the right thing.
Yeah, fantastic.
There's a lot of things to our advantage here by not moving our hives. We don't have that increased sort of chemical load that you might get, in agricultural settings. It doesn't stress out the bees. You've got a little bit of local adaptation. You're interbreeding with what's left of the wild colonies, and through selection, observation, monitoring, you may just be able to
win
eventually. 20 years from now.
Oh, mate, the hardest job in the world. That's why I love doing this and talking to you guys, because it makes my job look so easy.
Yeah, it is really hard, but it's worth it. It really is worth it. The honey is a reflection of how hard it is, and that process. It's constantly humbling. Yeah,
because I understand the average age of beekeepers is around 80. So this is, you're not quite there yet, but there's a lot of retirement. This has really tipped them over the edge. So there's a lot of beekeepers retiring because they just can't handle it because of the workload, because of the varroa mite. So you're not going to give up, are you?
No,
it's too fun. Yeah, it's hard, but it's worth it. Yeah. We just love it too much.
Yeah, good. And you've got beautiful honey as well.
Thank you.
So you can't.
Yeah.
So for the listeners, if someone's out there that wants to get into beekeeping, what's the best way to do it, and why should they do it?
Think of a million reasons why they should. I mean, it's just the best. It really is. I think if they're interested, just find a beekeeper, give them a hug, and buy their honey. Just get started. Just jump in. It's not scary. It's really exciting. I've met so many people that when you say they're a beekeeper, they just light up. I mean, I've never not had somebody go, oh my God, it's just a rewarding experience when you say that you're a beekeeper. it really does feel like you're giving something back, and honey is just part of it. If you were ever thinking about bees, or just jump in,
Because
We
you can
all
go
make
online.
mistakes.
From what I understand, councils embrace beekeepers. You're allowed in some areas of Sydney. You're allowed 4 beehives in your backyard.
That's fantastic.
I'm sure that's the same with councils around Australia.
Yep.
There's bee communities,
Bee groups,
little
bee
bee
clubs,
groups,
yeah.
bee clubs.
Yeah.
You can actually join and learn.
Yeah.
From my experience, I became a beekeeper 10 years ago, and as I was saying to you earlier, it's opened my world, because here I am in an office selling products, but now I'm out here actually meeting the people that contribute to my life, and they're beautiful, hard work, probably the hardest workers I know, humbling people.
It's a humbling process. Yeah.
Going back to when you say you're a beekeeper, people's eyes light up, but when you give them a jar of honey as a gift, that's so rewarding.
Yeah.
Because everyone loves honey.
Yeah, it's a perfect gift, isn't it? Because, is there anyone that doesn't like honey?
I'm sure there are.
Well, we
never
don't
met
like them.
one.
We don't like
I've
them.
never met one.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just a really beautiful. It's a nice industry to be in. It's a sunny time industry. Happy. So we finished the show by asking all beekeepers just one fun fact about bees that I might not know and the listeners might not know. Do you have any that come to mind?
Well, I mean, the great thing is that there are endless facts that, and you find them, you read them, and half the time you're surprised that you're surprised. I mean, you just go, I wouldn't put it past them. Of course, why not? But I think I'm more interested in the facts that we haven't found yet, because, and personally, on a side note, I think drones, once we start really discovering what they do, I think the drone is yet to have its day. I know
the bee drone.
The drone, the male bee.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people just discount that it's this lazy, doesn't do anything, and but I think there's a key there that I think we're missing, and there will be a fact one day when I go, I knew there was something there. There's going to be a more important role, I think, specifically around varroa as well. So
okay,
that's the fact I'm waiting for. Yeah, watch this space.
Oh,
Not
come
this
on,
space,
come on! Don't let us down. That's great, and I'll call you in a couple of years when you found that fact.
No,
we need one now. We need a fact now.
Oh,
just one little tidbit.
I thought something that really interests me as far as the genetics, and I'm not a researcher or a scientist, but I think as far as bees go genetically, there's a lot of evidence to suggest that it's not so much a specific gene that we're looking for as far as resistance or anything like that, but it's the diversity in itself that seems to be. So queens that fly up to be mated at drone congregation areas, it's the amount of drones, it's the diversity of drones, it's the diversity itself which provides that stability as far as resilience. And I think that if that is just constantly reinforced, that for me is really important.
Perfect. Thank you. If someone wants to buy Sunny Times honey, where do they go?
Yeah, well, obviously we're collaborating with you guys, so on Natural Life, and then also on the Sunny Times website.
Yep.
We also stock nationwide in specialty retailers. We're not in the big majors. We really like to focus on smaller stores that share our story and that can also share our love of good food.
Yeah, wonderful. So if they go to Sunny Times website, do you have a list?
Stockist list there.
You got a stockist list.
Find one near you.
Yeah,
fantastic.
All across Australia.
Well, great. Well, I love you, honey. Love you guys. And this has been really interesting. So thank you very much.
For having us.
Yeah, really nice to meet you both.